AskReddit by throwaway ad nauseum. What is the most puzzling unexplained event in world history? The 1808 mystery eruption. Scientists have discovered that there was a giant volcanic eruption somewhere in the South Pacific in 1808. It was at least comparable to Krakatoa. They based it on secondary data, weather observations in South America, ice core readings, pine tree rings, etc. Thing is, no one knows exactly which volcano went kaboom in 1808. Which is odd, because a volcanic eruption of that size should have been noticed by someone. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/1808_mystery_eruption?w_prox_1 1808 just seems shockingly late in history to have this happen. Why did the ancient Polynesians really stop voyaging for 1,000 years and then start again? I saw the documentary about this a few years ago. The peopling of Australia. The deeper you dig, the more fascinating it becomes. There's a great documentary on PBS about this. Guy is tracing the DNAs of various people and found some family in South India that matches the Aborigines' DNA of Australia. The Bronze Age collapse. A bunch of theories but no full-on consensus. They probably just gathered enough food and gold to upgrade to the next stage. We still don't really know how the Byzantines used Greek fire. Each theory doesn't scientifically seem to hold up 100%. The 9th Roman legion of 5,000 men disappeared on its way to Scotland. I believe they found some evidence that they may have later been stationed in the Netherlands. 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg, essentially a mass UFO sighting. Check out the drawings. Some interesting things that are noted on the German Wikipedia entry on this. The main drawing weird for others reasons as well. It doesn't include one of the most prominent buildings of the city, a large castle, to the time it was created, but it included a church that burned down a good bit prior, which together with other chronological weirdness lends itself to the theory that the artist was mixing and matching several more benign meteorological events to make a stronger case to be a good Christian. Because otherwise good will screw you over. Edgar Allan Poe's last days. Where did he disappear to? Was he kidnapped? Did he go on a bender? Why was he found in a delirious state? Drugs? Disease? Trauma? There's a theory I remember hearing that as an alcoholic he could have been a victim of a common practice of voter fraud of the time. Rough types got someone stinking, deliriously drunk and had them vote for a candidate, and then had their clothes forcibly changed so they could be made to vote several times. Who or what was the Pied Piper? The legend was apparently based on actual events commemorated in a stained glass image. But it's unclear if it was allegory or what. The Children's Crusade. It's actually a pretty sad period A classic Disney story. Children from small towns were scammed to believing a French and German boy had visions from God. The children were convinced into joining a crusade to convert Muslims in Jerusalem. They were all led to Italy and sold into slavery. https://en.m.wiki.org/wiki/children_crusade. The invasion of the Sea Peoples. The Bronze Age collapse will be forever interesting emo. That one time a whole town danced itself to death for no reason. So the preacher from Footloose was right? The sailor who flew like 1 kilometer after the Halifax explosion and survived. What? Crazy. The double slit experiment. It's mind-boggling. All of quantum physics is a magic show. Who was the first person to look at an oyster and say, yep, I'm gonna eat that booger looking thing? You're really hungry. You see an animal eat one without harm, so you eat it. The Tobar bottleneck theory is a hypothesis that 70,000 years ago a massive volcanic eruption almost extinguished humanity, wiping out millions of humans to just a 1,010,000 people left. There is a few of researchers who disagree, but the theory has a lot of plausible basis and evidence. We just won't know for certain. It's just scary and interesting to think humanity almost went extinct and that we originate from a population of few thousand. Doesn't this essentially mean that we are extremely inbred, thus the human body and mind were more advanced before that time due to much more natural breeding? As a very recent Miami Mall incident. So damn bizarre. Nothing makes sense, and when you try to make sense of it there's very little information and more questions. Put together the following. A few teenagers fighting, aliens, portals, complete power shutdown, every single police officer and amp, cars including helicopters present, airline flights cancelled, no video evidence, no mobile phone footage, no CCTV footage, and literally hundreds of people were present. Go figure. And why was every single cop in the state and surrounding states there? Geez. The miracle of the sun. Connected to the apparitions of the Virgin Mary at Fatima. The three children claimed that Mary told them to gather townspeople on the 13th of October to show them something so that all may believe. On that day, around 40,000 people gathered and saw the sun spin and fly through the sky. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/miracle. The 60,000-year pause humanity took in the desert while migrating out of Africa. Why in the world would they pause? 60,000 is an awfully long pause, in such an inhospitable locale. I'm definitely no expert, but I'm pretty sure that the climate in that area at the time was much more wet and gradually became an inhospitable desert over the next tens of thousands of years. It was probably a good place to be at the time, and the migration out of Africa was the result of the shift in climate and changing environmental factors. It's crazy to think that most of human history is a complete mystery. They spent 60k years in Africa, but what was that like for them? Was it always huts and villages? Or did they develop cities that were destroyed at some point, leaving nothing for us to find? Entire empires could have come to power and faded away to dust every couple hundred years or so, and the stretch of time is so long that we still probably wouldn't find any evidence of these prehistory civilizations. Perp behind the Chicago Tylenol murders. Vila incident. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Vila_incident . Wasn't it basically proven that it was an Israeli nuclear weapons test? I don't know about most puzzling or unexplained, but I really want to know who was Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer, and who DB Cooper really was and if he survived. Really curious about a timeline for the whereabouts of a person that affected me personally, known as Cotton Eye Joe. Where is his place of origin? How did he prevent my marriage? And what happened to him afterwards? That guy. If it hadn't have been for him. How the Bermuda Triangle just one day chilled out and stopped eating ships and planes. The Bermuda Triangle was the most concerning issue for me during most of my childhood. Were there multiple Roman Empire level civilizations worldwide that were wiped out by the Younger Dryas, thus setting humanity back 10,000 years? How life began. The whole universe was in a hot dense state,